Guys, welcome back. It is the Dr. Cloud Show, and we have another day to hang out together. I hope it's all going well for you wherever you find yourself, and that you've selected to spend this hour with us all together. It's a big family here, big tribe. We're trying to develop, like, what do they call it? Herd immunity to dysfunction, which means we're building up antibodies to control and manipulation and toxicity and narcissism and floundering in life and all of that stuff. Yeah. So my German psychiatrist mentor. It's kind of a bad impersonation, actually, but you know what I mean. We're trying to get better here, so I'm glad that you've joined us. It is an hour we take to look at life and in the big areas we care about, how we feel, how we relate, how we're accomplishing goals, and get back on track and learn some principles and share it together. And one of the things I want to always applaud you for is Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, the way you guys are coming together and building that big herd immunity to this dysfunction and supporting each other. And also to our famous callers, which I want to give the number. If you want to be one of the famous callers, 844-940-2774, 844-940-2774 is the way to get on the air. And you can call during this live hour and we will talk. And for the rest of you, you may be listening in one of the other areas. The live hour is just if you want to call in, but you can hear the program. Remember, anytime, 24/7, it sits there. And also, if you like to do it when you're working out or walking or something like that, just download it as a podcast. Go to boundaries.me podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's iTunes or wherever that is. So that's my hello for this day. Now, if you have been watching or listening to the program long, take the first few minutes and kind of talk about something that maybe a principle or, something that I've been working on with someone or myself or a journey of life. And today I want to explore with you my utter hatred and contempt for a term, especially, I'm not trying to take it personally, but sometimes I even get accused of it. When somebody says, oh yeah, you write self-help books. I want to pull my eyebrows out if I ever hear that. I do not write self-help books. You know why? Because I hate that term, self-help. It is the biggest oxymoron. I mean, there's a lot of big oxymorons, right? Adult child. Oh, I've got an adult child issue. Well, come on, are they a child or an adult? Let's decide on one. Self-help. Let me rail on this for a moment. I don't know how the genre got to be called self-help. Maybe because people were working on their problems and they're reading a book and they're going to try to implement some stuff. That's great. That's great. But even the fact that you gave somebody a book is not self-help. We got help from outside of ourselves. Okay? Think about this. Self-help. Now, if I am the self that needs help, if I'm the problem, how am I also going to be the answer? Because if I got the answer, then I'm not the problem, am I? Think about that. Here's why I hate that term so much. If there's something that I'm able to do that's going to help my life, I'm able to do it. I don't need help. I'm just maybe lazy and I need to repent, or I need to go working, performing, do what I'm not doing that I'm able to do. And able is the big word I want to camp out here or camp out on here. Able. If I'm able to do something, I don't need help. I need to have my butt kicked to tell me to go do it. That's great. But that's not self-help. That's repentance from laziness or not trying or fear or something. Help is a different story. Help is when I reach the point where I need help. You don't see somebody out there swimming laps. It's a great Olympic swimmer saying, help, help. Who do you see asking for help? The one that's going under, that can't keep themselves above water. Okay. And I would submit to you that all of us have gaps in our lives. Okay. Gaps in our lives where, hi, here's where I'd like to be, here's where I need to be, and here's where I am. And I've got this gap. And to get up that gap, I'm going to need somebody to extend the hand to me to pull me up or come along down where I am and give me help me get up and climb out of the hole. Everything we know about life and performance enhancement comes in the context of relationship. External help that comes to us encourages us. Love that word in the Bible. It says encourage one another. Encourage, put courage into someone, support one another, heal one another, encourage one another, teach one another, confront one another, model for one another, give to one another, provide for one another. Think about that. To get better, we got to reach the end of ourselves. And we have to get out of that closed circle. And we have to reach out to God and to other people, but specific kinds of other people. Somebody that's bringing something to the party. All right? I want somebody showing up that's got something to bring to help me. A lot of times what we do is we look for help, but we look in the wrong places because what does it require? It requires somebody that's going to bring the energy, positive energy to help us, positive energy that they want us to win, positive energy that they're going to come alongside and pick us up sometimes when we can't pick ourselves up. And somebody's got the strength to do that. But not only the energy, they also got to have the intelligence. Because there's a lot of people with a lot of zeal that want to help you, but they don't know what they're talking about. What they're telling you is not going to help with the addiction or the depression or the anxiety or the relationship or whatever. Turn to people that bring something to the party that's helpful in the way of wisdom and intelligence and experience. Advice is cheap. Anybody will give you advice, and you have to weigh it. Who's it coming from? How many people in your situation have they helped? Have they walked through? Have they ever been in that situation themselves? How did they get out of it? What did they learn? What's the wisdom? Rather, other people just kind of, telling you what you ought to be doing. So I want you to get to whatever gap you want to close in your life. I want you to go from here to there. And I'm going to tell you, if you can do it, do it. Great. Go do it. Go do it. But if you can't, you need help. And when you learn that you're not a closed circle, stuck in the prison of your depression or addiction or relationship problem, that you're not in a jail cell, that you can open that door and reach out to the outside world, to God and to other people that actually know something about the gap that you're facing, then there's, the limits begin to get blown away. They just get blown away. Because this relationship that gives us energy and gives us new intelligence and gives us modeling and gives us help and structure and encouragement and courage and wisdom, that's how it happens. And then we internalize that. And one of the biggest biggest reasons that we need relationship to help us is because of the way the human brain and psyche is constructed. We internalize functions from the outside. And I'll leave you with this, and then we'll go to some callers. But we internalize functions from the outside. When your computer needs to be able to function at a higher level, you don't tell it, get committed, you can do it, get some self-help. No, you go online and you download the new code or the new program or the new app from the server. Okay? You get it from outside. You download it. It gets internalized. Think about this. A toddler, you take them for a walk. They go to the curb. They step off the curb. Mom or dad goes, no, wait, look both ways. Okay, now let's go. The next day, you go, the toddler steps off the curb. Mom or dad goes, no, wait, look both ways. You do that however many times. And one day, a toddler walks up to the curb. Then they go, Mommy, no, wait. Look both ways. What have they done? They have internalized the help that they got from outside themselves. And now it's a part of them. And when we're upset, we can't calm down, and mom or dad or loved one, grandma, somebody picks us up and soothes us. We internalize that self, and it's called a self-soothing system that's internalized from a thousand expressions of that from outside. And then you find yourself at work in your cubicle, and the boss does something or somebody, and starts to get upset, and you go, okay, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. You're repeating to yourself what was internalized, and those regulatory systems emotionally, psychologically, now have been internalized. That's why we need other people. Because God has wired us to take from other people, and it becomes part of ourselves. So get out of your closed circle if you need to get better. Don't depend on self-help. Reach out to God and reach out to wise people who know what they're doing and who would bring the energy and the commitment and the wisdom to help you. Okay? So there's our little lesson for today. We are going to go to the phones. Let me give the number again. 844-940-2774. It's 844-940-2774. Dial that number if you want to be on the program. We'd love to hear from you, and everybody else wants to hear what you're thinking as well. And also, speaking of the program, make sure you're sharing it with your friends, because we need to build a bigger audience to be able to stay. Keep building it. And thirdly, we were just talking before the show, a bunch of cool stuff that's happening with boundaries.me. Go to boundaries.me if you want to learn more about the principles that basically are behind everything we talk about on the show. You know, we talked a little bit here, but there's a whole library called boundaries.me. And if you go to that library, it's sort of like the Dr. Cloud Netflix. You know, you have this library of all these, you know, there's 70 something courses on there. When you become a subscriber, you have access to all of that. And whether it's a relationship problem with an in-law or a toxic person or reaching a goal or overcoming an addiction or whatever, the whole library is yours once you become a subscriber. So go to boundaries.me and join us there. And there's also groups you can join in forums there as well. Okay, let's go to Atlanta, right here from my little study here in Southern California. Let's go to Atlanta and talk to Jennifer, who has a question. Jennifer, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
You are welcome.
So
I wish,
I have
you know what I really wish? How long have you lived in Atlanta?
About 25 years now.
Oh, I bet you know what I'm about to talk about. I wish I could talk to you and talk about your question instead of where I am now. I want to go to Mary Max and talk about your question. Don't tell me you've never been to Mary Max.
Is that like the soul food place?
That's it. It is the best way for me to gain 100 pounds in one night ever. And every time I go to
Yeah.
Atlanta, I want to go there. Anyway, so there's my plug. So tell me your question.
Okay. So I have just been accepted into two totally different graduate programs, and I'm having trouble deciding which one to choose because it's going to affect the rest of my life. One of them is an MA in clinical mental health counseling, and the other one is an MBA degree.
Huh. Okay. So what do you want to be when you grow up?
Can I be honest?
No, lie to me. Please lie to me, Jen. Come on, please lie to me. Of course you can be
What I
honest.
really want to do is be a mom, but I'm 46 years old and that ship has sailed. So now I'm trying to navigate like what I'm going to do, for the second half as a single person.
What have you done the first half?
The first half, I've worked basically as an executive assistant in the business industry. I got my undergrad in religion and ministry. I was very heavily involved in church and ministry for a lot of years, but I couldn't pay the bills working at nonprofits and stuff. So I went back into the secular arena. And that's kind of my concern. Yeah, with going into counseling, it's my understanding that it might be more difficult for me to financially support myself. Some of my friends have, had to get a second job that are counselors, and
they had to get a second job because they couldn't build a practice sufficiently, or because they had a big practice but it wasn't enough.
They couldn't build enough. Even if they built it, and it still really wasn't enough.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. You chose these two. What went into why not basket weaving or electrical engineering? You've landed on these two. So why those two?
Well, for counseling, I've always had more of a passion for it. Like I've served on the lay counseling team, and in my spare time, I watch videos, I read books. It's just interesting to me. In terms of business, because I've worked in the industry, there's things that I've just started to enjoy, like the company finances and
which industry?
Like it's mostly finance, like accounting and investment banking.
Investment banking. Okay. All right. So and then what's the dilemma if I say, so which one are you gonna do? What happens inside?
I think the bottom line is I'm concerned, like in my mind, counseling lines up a little bit better with who I am, but I don't have a retirement savings. I've already been through a situation where I had to go back into the secular industry because that didn't work out for me, and it cost me a lot of years, and I don't want to repeat that pattern. If I go down that road and then, go to counseling, go to school and all this stuff only to have to turn back and go back into the secular workforce. In business, I do enjoy it. It's interesting to me. There's a ton of job opportunity, and I would be able to be okay for the rest of my life. That's kind of where I'm torn.
So it's strictly a financial dilemma?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, unless I'm not digging deep enough into my heart, but in terms of making the decision now, probably so.
If you followed your heart, you'd go into the counseling side of it?
Maybe.
Well, I wouldn't go to graduate school on a maybe. You know what I mean? And here's what I would suggest to you, and I'm going to suggest this just as an idea. Obviously you don't do it, but I'm going to put an idea out there that I did myself. Okay, and that is when I was looking at, because strapping on graduate school and a training, to become a clinician, it's a big deal. Even if you just do a master's, you got a couple years of school, and then you got 3,000 plus hours of supervised experience after that before you even think about it. So you're looking at a while before you can build a practice, right? So it's a big deal. The MBA track obviously is shorter. But what I did was, because what was really important to me is I how I got to get up every day and do this, right? And I started to ask the question, how do I want to spend my moments? Because a lifetime is composed of a bunch of moments. And I was an accounting and finance major, by the way. And what I did was I took a year and I went to work in a psychiatric hospital for $3.33 an hour. My father thought I was crazy. I was a college graduate. But I really wanted to confirm my passion and my calling. And I wanted to make sure before I strapped on a big training thing that this was something that I wanted to do so badly that I was really willing to go through all of that. Okay. Now, at the same time, I too was worried about, financial end of things. And so what I also did was I began to talk to a lot of different clinicians and the models of how they worked, and got a really good understanding, a picture of what it looked like on the other end. So it can make an informed decision. I wouldn't, depending on your performance level, I wouldn't take as final word from a couple of people that were unable to build a practice that you can't make a living, as a professional counselor. I would go find some ones that do it well and are supporting themselves in a family or their retirement or whatever it is, because lots of people do this full time. And I would talk to them, and then I would get a very clear picture of what a successful scenario looks like, and see if that answers your needs based on your lifetime and your financial planning and all of that. And then on the other side, on the MBA side, I would really think about those jobs and ask yourself, is that what I want to get up and do every morning? Because it may be. You said you love finance and you love all of that. I mean, I know some people that get up and salivate over a spreadsheet. I don't, but they do. And the other thing that you might want to think about, since you do have some kind of business leanings, it's a little bit like me. I also knew that I didn't want to do clinical work 50 hours a week, even though I did that for a long time. But I also wanted to do some other things, teaching and writing, and actually, a lot of business stuff that comes interfaces with the world of psychology. I mean, I work with CEOs and companies and things like that. So before I made the decision, I would get a little more deeply into the reality of how you're going to be spending your time and what it could do for you. And then I think it'll become more clear. Okay.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. I'm sorry. Yes, it does. Thank you, Henry.
All righty. I'd look at some successful. If you look at the successful ones out there that are doing it well, and you go, well, I can't live on that. Well, then there's, maybe you can't live on that. I don't know.
Okay.
But a lot of people do. So there you go. But God bless you in your path, and I hope you find the right one for you.
Thank you. God bless you as well.
Okay. Bye-bye. Oh, finding out. Another way I like to think about that is I like to think about where when our passion and our gifts and abilities come together with a real need in the world, I think that's where the magic is. So I can have a passion about something, but I might not be gifted. And there might be a real need in the world for that. But hey, I wish I could I wish I could play for the Lakers, but I'm too short, too fat, too old. So I don't really have the gifts. Sometimes we got a passion and the gift is, but the world really doesn't need what we're bringing to the party. So that, we call that a hobby, right? But when you find the passion, and there's also some things that you can be gifted at and the world needs it. I just don't care. That's what happened to me. And, when I was a finance major, I'm pretty good at it. I'm kind of a math guy. And I was always good at that stuff. And the world needs good finance people. I just didn't care. I got bored. So as we're thinking about stuff like this, God has put into each person different areas of strengths and abilities and passions and things we care about. And so when your passion and your abilities come together and the world has a need for that somewhere, I like to think of that formula as well. Okay, let's go back to the phones and talk to Scott, who's calling us from somewhere in Pennsylvania with a question about one of my favorite age groups, those late teenagers. I've got two of them myself. Tori and I have two daughters, roughly in the age that you're talking about, Scott. So welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how can I help you?
Well, I think we were already entering, our daughter went to college in the fall, and we were already entering into launching her, letting her spread her wings. It was kind of a rough year. Then they ended up coming back home for the end of last year. Now it looks like she might be back home for the fall again. And then we have a senior who's 17.
When you say they, you were meaning her?
Yes, I did mean her, yes.
Okay. So she went away to school. You said she had a rough year. What was rough?
It was a kind of a typical first year rough of getting used to the academics, had a hard time making friends, desperately wanted to make some friends. And then she was finding her groove, and then they were sent back home. So
yeah, horrible. I've got one that graduated this past year, and all those kids in that senior year, they lost all the graduations and everything, and then the ones you're saying they've finally gone to college, and then they get kicked out halfway. And this COVID thing's been horrible. So what's the question? How can I help?
Well, the question would be, so she's home. She has a certain set of rules, house rules. Our 17-year-old has a different set. He struggles to get his stuff done, so we're kind of more on top of him. And it's caused some tension in our marriage. We kind of have different approaches to how to handle it. I'm a little more on the open end, let him learn and fail as he goes. My wife is a little more, let's stay on top of him. But we've got this weird dynamic in our house where they're at two different stages, and we're trying to manage it all together while working from home as well.
Okay. Totally understandable. A 19-year-old, our 19, and she's 20 now, but when she was 19 and the other was 17, we'd say, yeah, you can and you can't. She's over 18, you're not.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, we do that
I'm
sometimes.
serious. That's like when you get to be 18, you can do it, So
right.
Yeah, there are sometimes different structures. So specifically, what can I help with?
Well, beyond that, setting the limits for, I guess, the boundaries, mostly for the 17-year-old of, setting a curfew when he should be home, what homework needs to be done before he leaves. So the question is, how much do you micromanage a senior's life for success?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to camp out on a little phrase here you said, and I'm not being nitpicky here. I think it's a great way to talk about what we need to talk about. You said, what homework needs to be done before he goes out. Remember that phrase?
Yes.
Homework has no need to be done. It doesn't. It's an inanimate object. It's an inanimate object. And obviously your son has no need to do his homework. Right now, you have a need for him to do his homework. So here's the trick. Here's what we want to do. You having a need for him to do his homework doesn't get the homework done. The only way the homework doesn't have a need to get done. It'll sit there for 20 years. What we got to do is transfer the need to have the homework done from your shoulders to his shoulders. So he begins to say, crap, I need to do my homework. So we want to get to an I need to. All right. And so a lot of times what happens is, we as parents, we feel the need to have them study. We feel the need to have them do this. We feel the need to, but that's never going to get it done. I tell a story sometimes of, mom comes downstairs, Joey's in his skinny jeans, playing video games. And she says to Joey, okay, Joey, can I talk to you here for a second? Turn your games off. So tomorrow we've got tickets to the Lakers game, and I'm going and Dad's going and you can go and your sister's going. But here's the deal. The people that get to go are the ones that have finished all their chores today, because we all have our chores. I got to do A, B, and C, and Dad's got to do this. Your sister, and here's your list. I told you to do the backyard and also, finish the 3 modules of homework. And so everybody that's done their chores is going to get to go. And so we're going to have an inspection at 6:00, and everybody come in, and whoever's finished gets to go. Now, if you choose not to do yours, we also, Mabel, remember Mabel, the babysitter from hell? Well, she's available tomorrow, and she can come stay with you if that's the option that you choose. But we're having an inspection at 6, and you know what? I got to run. I'll see you at 6. Okay, now she walks out. There's no micromanaging. There's no control. There's no, you need to go. I told you, young man, you need to get off of that couch right now, and you need to go do your homework. No, he doesn't. He has no need until now. Now he's thinking Lakers babysitter from hell. And a thought goes through his head, which is actually a new thing because that's never happened before. All of a sudden, Joey goes, oh, crap. I need to get my homework done. See, now he's got a need. So the question becomes not how much do we micromanage. I told my girls when they turned 13, you know what, girls, you're teenagers. I'm going to tell you the way this works. I do not want to have any control of you. 0. Not my job. It's your job. I want self-control. And here's the way the formula works. You will have 100% freedom if it equals 100% responsibility. Whatever freedom you have, if you use it responsibly, and that'll be equal to love. Are you hurting yourself or anybody else? If you're not, then you're doing a great job. But if the responsibility goes down, the freedom goes down, and you're in control of that, not me. I'm not going to manage you. I'm going to manage the outcomes in the process. So in answer to your question, what we got to do as parents is realize the goal is not for me to get them to do things. The goal is for me to control the process of managing the resources and the requirements and the outcomes and the consequences and sometimes the help needed. And then they get to be in charge of producing the work. So that's the way I would look at it. Does that help?
That helps very much. Yes. Thank you very much.
I'd sit down with Joey and say, so tell me what you want. We got summer, we got a few more months coming here. What do you want it to look like? What are your goals? What kind of fun do you want to have? What do you want to learn? What experiences? What can I provide for you? Okay, so here's my role, and I can do all that. Your role is going to be to show up and blah, 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 and then we'll just go from there. And I think if you and your wife sat down and figured out what the desired outcomes are, and then figured out, what you're going to require from them, how that's going to be, you know, managed in terms of the consequences and rewards and freedom and all of that, then that might help as well. Okay. Thank you for your call, and I love that age group, and I hope you enjoy it too.
Thank you very much.
Okay, when our girls got to be teenagers, I remember people saying, "Oh, you got teenage girls now." Oh, it's kind of like you're in for a nightmare. And I just have to tell you, and I don't mean to sound weird here, but I don't think I've ever had as much fun as parenting teenagers. They're so interesting, and there's so much drama and so much fun, but they're getting smart and they're figuring out life and all that. But here's what's really important. If you want to have fun with a teenager, don't tether yourselves to their moods and their performance and their outcome. If here's a dock on a lake, and here's a boat, and you tether it too tightly, every time a wave comes, the dock's it's going to be going like this. You see parents and the kids, the kids up and the parents, they're down and they're down. They're performing and they're going crazy. You remain stable. Let your teenager do their ups and downs, and then you manage the consequences, the rewards, the interventions, the help, all of that. But I'm not going to go up and down on a teenager's moods or a teenager's performance. It's going to be all over the map. What we have to do is stay stable and do the right thing vis-a-vis whatever they're doing that day. And then I get to watch this. What incredible theater this is, watching these half adults and half children drive themselves and everybody else crazy every day. So much fun, as long as we're in charge of ourselves. And then we can say, oops, well, bad decision there, kiddo. If you want to go to the Lakers game tomorrow, kind of blew that. Good luck next week. You have another shot at it. It gets to be fun. Anyway, that's my little spin on this. Let me see. Where are we? I got to get to, here we are. Karen, who is calling us from Detroit with a dating question, one of my favorite areas of college. We get so many great dating questions on the program. Karen, you're laughing. What are you laughing at?
Well, I love that you say that you love the dating questions, and I like your book, How to Get a Date Worth, the Date Worth Keeping, that you wrote years ago.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
Well, if you think of that title, the reason I chose that title, How to Get a Date Worth Keeping, is there's only two dating problems you can have, right? You can't get a date. Some people are stuck and they're not getting dates. Or the other problem is I'm getting a lot of dates, but they all suck and they're terrible. They're not worth keeping. So it kind of goes at both sides of the equation there. So tell me about your dating life. How can we give us some drama? Come on.
Give you some drama. Oh, I got tons of drama. Well, I'm a teacher for a nonprofit in Detroit, and I work with a gentleman. We dated after high school briefly.
Now, hold on a second. Karen, can you get a little closer to the phone? Is there a way? Because we can't quite hear you.
Yes. Is that better?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. So I work in Detroit for a nonprofit, and I work with a gentleman. We used to date out of high school for, a few months, and then we went our separate ways into college. And we're in our 50s. We're both divorced, and we kind of reacquainted in the fall. And then this past February, I took a teaching job. I didn't know he worked at this place. And the first day I was there, they introduced me. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we've been seeing each other since the end of March. And for the most part, he's very consistent. So the issue, however, is I notice on Wednesdays and on the weekends, he has his daughter. And when we left work yesterday, he's like, okay, I'll call you later. And I was like, okay. and he never called me. And that's happened several times. And it's like, I don't want to be, I don't know if that's petty, because in other ways he's consistent, but that really bugs me. Like, it really
in other ways, meaning other times when he says he's going to call, he calls. It's only on the daughter days that he doesn't, or the calling thing is always an issue. Okay, and in other,
it's not
in
always
ways,
an issue. I'm sorry. In other ways, we see each other, we spend time together, but I notice whenever he has his daughter, or if there are not issues, but when he's with her, like a couple times, on Sunday nights, he takes her back home, and he's told me, hey, I'll call you later, or maybe we can get together later. And he just kind of flakes out. And I don't know if something happened, and he never will address it.
But otherwise, the guy gets an A in all the other areas.
In other ways, I would say he gets a B, because the other issue is, he has told me he has a hard time opening up and being emotionally available. So maybe you might say, Karen, this is crazy, but he treats me well otherwise. But he's kind of closed emotionally. That's something we talked about the other day, and he admits it. He's like, that's not how I want to continue to be, but that's his pattern. So it's kind of like, I want to work with it, but I don't want to be a witch. And I'm thinking, is this my issue? Is this my insecurity, or whatever? So,
well, on the first one, about the calling.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
What I would do is I would kind of get it clear in my head what the actual issue is. And if you've narrowed it down to, he only does this on daughter days. So, just watch his track record. And if that's true, next handful of daughter days, he says he's going to call, I'd just say, okay, great. And then just log it. And he doesn't, then probably what I would do is I'd say, so Joey, I don't want to make a big deal about this, because normally you do what you say you're going to do, which is important to me in a relationship. You say you're going to show up, you show up, and you get, you do that, unless he doesn't. Does he usually do what he says he's going to do?
Yeah, when I think about it, it's usually attached to his time with her.
Okay.
When he flips out, yeah.
So normally I can depend on you, but I've actually been watching this, and for the last 6 times that, it's the day with your daughter, you said you were going to call, and you didn't. I really, really, really don't mind you not. I mean, it's your day with your daughter. Take your day with your daughter, and don't worry about calling me. I mean, for whatever reason, I get it. But what I do want in a relationship is, when we tell each other we're going to do something, I'd like to be able to depend on it, because it does kind of leave me hanging. Well, what happened? Is he okay? And so here's what I'd like for you to do. Say, I'm going to be with my daughter. Probably won't talk to you tonight. I'll talk to you tomorrow, or whatever. That's fine. Or say, yeah, I'll give you a call, and then call me. But I'd like to kind of be able to. That's all I want. I mean, if he's getting an A in every other area, or at least in showing up, on a B.
Right.
All right. Well, that's up to you. If you're, what your admission standards are in your school. But on this emotional availability thing, I think the fact that he's talking about it is good. What you've got to realize as you're in a dating process, and this is what dating is about. I mean, you've only been dating him, and it's COVID of all things. You're not like probably seeing him all the time. You've only been dating him a few months, but I would make sure that you're not the driving force, always trying to get him to change. I would say, let's talk about this opening up and sharing more deeply and this, that, and the other. Tell me about that. You're engaging in conversations. And you want to feel like the driving energy for change of his changing is coming from him and not you. That's when we tend to have hope. And sometimes relationships can drastically turn people into another new version of themselves. That's how a relationship heals. You see a lot of people are shut down. They fall in love with a very accepting person, and and all of a sudden their friends don't know them. And gosh, you're so much more open now. And you're so much this. And they found out it's a relationship that changed them. But on the other side, some people aren't entering in sometimes. And the person on the other end of the relationship is trying to change them and be the change agent. You don't want that. Okay. So you've got to figure out in these conversations, what's he doing to change? And is he motivated to do it, this and the other? And you'll be willing to ride with him here for a little while. But you've also got to figure out what you want. And is B good enough in those areas? A lot, of course it is a lot of times in some areas. Nobody gets an A in every area. And different areas are important to different people about different things. But
yeah,
you got to figure out, okay, dating is cool, but if I get serious with somebody, whoever I get serious with, their SAT scores have to be at this level in these 3 or 4 areas. I don't care if they're getting C's and D's on, mowing the grass or other stuff. Who cares? Unless you care. But I do want emotional availability. I do want to be able to depend on them. Honestly, I do want to follow through. I do want to, there's some areas that are important, and that's what you got to decide. And if in dating, if you decided whoever I'm with, they got to reach a certain ability to work out conflict or share emotionally and this and the other. And if somebody doesn't, then they self-select out. So that's how I would think about it.
Okay.
All right.
That's I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're very welcome, and good luck. And, I tell you, I said, I hope it works out. I don't, what I really hope? I hope you find the one that chair requires. Whoever's going to sit in that chair and meets these standards. Maybe that's him, maybe it's not, but I hope that for you. Okay. God bless you, and thanks for calling.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So let me see. What do you do? We've got, let's go to Sarah. Where we got here? Sorry. Sarah's calling us from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The place with the moving green. Sarah, are you there?
Hi, Dr. Cloud. Yeah.
How are you? Yeah, isn't it Coeur d'Alene?
I'm doing
where the golf course has that island green and it moves around?
Yes, the floating green.
It's
great
crazy.
Reuben sandwich out at the clubhouse, right by
there.
there.
It's crazy. Greens are hard enough to hit when they're stable. This one's floating. Anyway, so tell me how I can help you.
I have 2 ex-husbands. Went through betrayal with both of them.
Wait a minute. I couldn't quite. Something about the phone. I couldn't quite understand you. Can you say it again?
Okay. I'm looking at how do I emotionally move on from my former husband when he was he's not safe, abusive, probably a psychopath. It's been a couple years. I've been in therapy for PTSD and, read lots of books, including Safe People, done some boundaries class. But, I'm obviously pretty terrified to get back out there. But I'm 47. I'd like to get back out there. But, this is my second ex-husband, and both of them had some major issues between alcoholism
similar
and
issues,
pornography and such. So the first one was an alcoholic. The second one was addicted to porn, but of course wouldn't admit that. But Yeah, so both were hidden from me. So yeah, I have big trust issues, plus my own trauma history from childhood. So yeah, I'm working through things, but yeah, I mean, obviously not someone that I feel comfortable talking with about, you know, how I'm doing now. And, you know, I did the separation for a year and was in therapy and, you know, initially ongoing actually. So yeah, tell me what you think you would recommend if you were me right now.
Yeah. Well, first thing I would recommend is that you get to where you really feel solid on your feet. You know,
Yeah.
one of my favorite verses, it says make level paths for your feet, so that the limb that is injured won't be further broken but healed. And so right now, for example, I just had a knee replacement. I'm just learning to walk again. I'm not going to go run a difficult trail with a bunch of rocks and different levels. I'm taking it easy where I can't get hurt in the beginning until I build up my strength in that knee.
Yeah.
So what I would want you to do is continue to do the work you're doing if it's helpful in the trauma area. But what you also want to do is I want you to establish a deeply rooted and grounded kind of support system of hopefully a handful of men and women that and I'd like to have some men in the mix in your support system that truly there is zero chance of you dating.
Sure.
Okay.
That's the tricky part. I have a lot of good girlfriends, but not very many men that I can feel comfortable with. I've been through spiritual abuse, through all of this with, different churches and pastors, and it's just been really trying.
Well, what you might want to do is, I don't know what the resources are like that in your community, but a good therapy group, a mixed therapy group with men and women, and actually a therapist who's in charge of it, because usually they have ground rules. You're not going to date somebody in the group. But
that's a great idea.
It could be a Celebrate Recovery. It could be, but I'd like for you to have a good group of brothers and sisters that you're not going to date.
Yeah.
That they become your safety net, and you begin to know, I am not alone in the world. I don't need another guy to solve my lonely problem, because I'm not alone in the world.
Sure.
And they're also helping you heal. That's number one. And then when you do start to date, you can come back and say, hey, I met this guy. I've seen this 1,000 times. Oh, I met the one. He's so incredible. And they start to describe him, and the group's going, are you crazy? This guy's a psychopath. They're going, really? I remember a woman came to the group one day. She goes, oh, finally, I'm so in love. She's been out with him however many times. And the group's so excited. And then she says, and he told me he thinks he might want to marry me if I got a boob job and I got this and he started listing all these ways. And the group is going, are you crazy? She couldn't see it. Right. So you do have a history here of, kind of a not 20/20 vision when you're seeing guys, of being able to spot the destruction. So I'd also want a safety net where when you do start to date, you can come back and describe everything and they hold you accountable. Are you kidding me? That's a yellow light. Why are you enabling that? Why are you saying that's okay? So I want that for you as well. But I would just want to make sure that you're on solid ground first before you really get out there and do anything serious. I mean, go on lunches and all that, but be careful. And then the other thing is, I really want you to study with your therapist, or, are you a member of Boundaries.me?
I don't think I am yet. I've been intending to get in there. I get some emails, so I'm not. Yeah.
Check it out.
I think there's some more resources I can access there.
Yeah, check it out. But I want you to begin to dive deeper into looking at criteria. You said you read Safe People. That's a start. Looking
Yeah.
at criteria of training your senses to know and be able to spot things that don't feel quite right. In your previous 2 relationships, you ignored some red flags, right? I want
Yeah,
you to
I literally didn't
learn.
even really see them as yellow. Yeah.
There you go. So I want your people picker. I want you to go get an advanced degree in people pickerness. And I'd much
Yes.
rather you,
Okay.
miss it on the negative sides, throw out some that maybe be okay than let more over the transom that, are going to infect you with their toxicity. So that's kind of what I would do.
Okay.
And I'd get involved in a community that's really supportive and kind of take it that way. All righty.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for your call. I'll
And,
try
and
that
happy
Reuben
healing.
sandwich.
Yes,
What was that?
good. Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Okay.
Go get it. You bet.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
People picking, one of the biggest skills that we need. Just reading in Psalm 101, it's a great psalm where David is saying, you know what, there's certain people I'm not gonna have them around me. Judgmental, narcissistic, arrogant, perverse, they twist love, they're not faithful, they lie. He says, I don't want anything to do with them. He says, I'm going to keep them far away from me. And then he says, there's another group of people, the ones that are blameless. That's a word that's used in the Bible sometimes. It doesn't mean perfect, but it means people that are they're honest, right? And they're caring, just good people. He said, those are the ones that I'm going to allow to minister to me, to help me, to be my friend. Very important. Very important. Don't count your critics, weigh them. Somebody doesn't like you, somebody doesn't approve of you. Well, who are we talking about? If the loving, honest, generous, faithful, really good people, if they got a problem with me, I've probably got a problem. But if the control freaks and the narcissists and the Pharisees and the judgmental people and the unfaithful people, if I'm bugging them because I'm just standing up to them or not doing what they want, then I don't have a problem. I've got like a sign that I'm upsetting the right people. Excuse me. Don't, just because somebody's criticizing you doesn't mean anything. If a control freak is upset with you because you won't do what they want to, then that's good. If you're making control freaks happy by doing everything they want you to do, that's not a good sign. So we need to look at our people picker issues. Okay, I wish we had more time. I wonder if there's a quick way. Debbie has been holding. I'm going to go another minute or two over here, but Debbie, I got to say we're up against the clock here, but I know you've been holding. I wanted to ask you, any way to ask your question real quickly? We're finding out here.
Hang on one second.
I can play the Jeopardy sound. Dun, 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 dun,
Dr.
dun,
Cloud?
dun. Hi, Debbie.
Oh my gosh, is this recorded?
It's what?
Is this being recorded?
No, it's Dr. Cloud, Debbie.
It is. Well, of course it's being
Yeah,
recorded. You're
know,
live on the web.
I know. But I thought the show was over.
Oh, well, you've been holding a long time. I saw it on my screen and I said, all right, we're going to go really quick. If
Oh my gosh.
Debbie can ask her question really quickly, then we can take it. So what's your question?
Oh man.
So far, that's not quick.
Originally, the question was, my people outside of dating, my head is on. I'm an intelligent woman and I'm happy. Once dating and highly physically attracted to the man, I have found myself not honoring my own physical boundaries that I'm so resolute and set on. And it ends up in heartbreak. And it's almost like I keep wounding the past wound of thinking that men are dogs. And so I never quite break free from that. And originally, the question was sort of like, how do I pump the brakes? How do I spot the red flags? How do I date well? You know, as you get older, I'm in my mid-40s, and I very much want partnership, and I believe I do the work on me. It's just when I come across another person, it's hard. And I think the breakup was last night, so I'm very fresh, and I find myself here in heartbreak land again, and I'm angry at that person and at myself.
And what was the breakup? Why a breakup? What happened?
Thank you for asking that. This gentleman's divorced with 2 kids, and when I met him, I honestly asked all the good questions, and I already knew what the challenge was. He's trying to re-career, and he has 2 teenage boys, and in the year that we've known each other, he's not been able to gain momentum and re-career. So now he is up against time. And he says, and I do believe him, that he needs to focus on recareering. He needs to spend time with his boys. The ex has moved and bought another house in another city without telling him. He wants to be a present father, which he should, for these ninth grade and 11th grade boys, and he does not have the time to invest in our relationship. I find myself hanging on to something that, like a year ago, if you told me, Sam, would you take these conditions? I'd be heck no. But because we've been physically intimate, now I just find it hard. I'm like a 14-year-old or like a little girl sitting in tantrum land, and mad at myself that I'm here again. And I want so much to be married, and again.
Okay.
First time with the divorcee, but again.
Let me ask this: how much work have you done with a good therapist on what goes into this pattern?
Honestly, this is the first time I noticed it, because I noticed it with my last relationship. And I took 2 years to kind of just deal with me. And my mom got diagnosed with Parkinson's. So I just leaned into my career and caregiving and my family. And I thought, okay, this guy's a Christian. But then I noticed the pattern. I noticed that I want to help the man. I'm a teacher. I'm the firstborn. I want to help the man. And it seems to be a pattern with my father. Like, most of the men I date are not financially that secure. And they're not in their element, and I very much want to help them get into their element.
So you want to? This is great. I mean, I'm glad. I wish we had more time, but I got the question answered that I needed answered. That it's a beginning awareness for you. That wow, this is a pattern, and so a lot of times you're in a great place right now. A great place, because a lot of times what people do is we talked about this on the show yesterday. They'll see, well, I got a relationship problem, and they'll deal with Joey, and then that goes away. Now they got Ralph. Well, I got a relationship problem, and they keep thinking they have a relationship. No, you don't. You don't have a relationship problem. You got a pattern, okay? And you're identifying that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to redefine it from, well, I got a problem with my boyfriend who wants to go back to, raise his kids. No, what you've got a pattern of somehow being attracted to men that need to be rescued. Okay. And you're Nurse Nightingale, who is able to find intimacy by being needed by a dependent man. So you are
Mm.
you feel this wonderful feeling of, oh, he needs me and I can help, and all of that, and that becomes the glue. Okay.
Mm.
But these men are that you're describing, they're dependent. They haven't achieved adulthood yet, so they can't give to you what you need from them. And
Mm.
so you're
Yeah.
at this window now where you're going, wait a minute, this is a pattern. What I would like for you to do, and my gosh, you
Yeah.
live, I'm looking at where you live. There's so many incredible therapists down in that area. What it's time for you to do is begin to get with somebody and help you see what are the needs inside that this is meeting that probably do have some, maybe, what we call genetic roots, not biologically, but family of origin. What's the genesis of this? The origin is, where did we learn these patterns? And where do you begin to give up yourself and lose yourself to meet some need? We got to find out what that need is, find better ways to meet that need, and then also begin to protect yourself. So I wish we had more time, but what I'd like for you to do, get my book, How to Get a Date Worth Keeping, and take a look at some of the areas in there where it talks about, kind of, some people are dating in ways to meet dysfunctional needs. And there's better ways to meet those than in dating. And there's a lot of pieces of this, but that would be my suggestion to you. Okay.
Dr. Cloud, God send. Thank you so much for taking my call today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And remember, dating is for adults. So pick some adults next time who, they put on their big boy pants and they're gonna, not need you to make it through life. So pick some people that are adults, and you'll learn to do that. God bless you. Thanks for your call.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we are in at the end of another hour. We're a little over today, but wanted to make sure we got her question. I was talking to my girls. We were having lunch right before the program, and we're talking about a friend of theirs that has a tendency to externalize things. That's my term. But, well, why didn't that one? Well, those friends, that set of friends, all they care about, and then that one goes bad. Well, that boyfriend, he was just, and then, or that town, or there's always something wrong with everything except her. We're talking about this friend. She doesn't see that she's the common denominator. I mean, if they are all as bad as she's saying, at least she's got to recognize, well, she's the one that picked them, right? And I remember, right before the program, we're sitting there. I'm sitting there with Tori and our two daughters, and I said, "Girls, life lesson here: don't externalize your problems. Don't externalize your problems. Find out your part in it. You chose them, or you did this, or you did that. Don't externalize it. Don't blame everything else. Figure out your part in it." That's hard to do, guys. We all sometimes shy away from recognizing I'm the common denominator here. And that's where we go back to what I was talking about yesterday, where we see patterns. And when we see ourselves in a pattern, 99% of the time, I got to say, it has more to do with us than the other side of it, right? So we have to look at, I may find myself in a situation, and that person may be a jerk, or that person may be a sociopath or toxic or whatever, but I'm the one that chose them. So I got to look at myself here. Okay. So, anyway, just a quick word there. We got to stop. I could hang out with you guys all day because you are the best audience in the world. You talk to each other on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You help each other, and you're passing the show on to your friends. Let's build a big audience here. Like we said, we have herd immunity against dysfunction. Learn how to deal with it. Say no to it. Get better. Support each other. And then lastly, I want to remind you, go, like I was telling the last caller, go to boundaries.me. There's courses on all of this stuff. You have access to the whole library once you become a subscriber. So go check it out. It's free to check it out. Go to boundaries.me and see what we got there in all these areas. Okay. Love you guys. I always love hanging out with you. And I'll see you tomorrow at same time. Okay. Bye-bye.